A nation once liberated found itself trapped in a war it never expected. A war not with an external enemy, but within its own borders. Brother against brother. Ideology against ideology. This is the story of Algeria's Black Decade, one of the bloodiest and most mysterious conflicts of modern times. It all started with a promise of democracy. In 1988, frustrated Algerians took to the streets, demanding change from the one-party rule of the FLN, Algeria's ruling party since independence. The government had no choice but to allow multi-party elections, and in 1991, the people finally got their chance to vote. But what happened next was something no one saw coming. The elections were historic. The Islamic Salvation Front, better known as the FIS, was on the verge of victory, gaining massive support. But before they could secure their final win, the military stepped in. The elections were abruptly cancelled. A coup d'etat. The FIS was outlawed. Its leaders were arrested. And, just like that, Algeria's dream of democracy turned into a nightmare. The FIS may have been banned, but its followers didn't disappear. Many took up arms, believing that if democracy was denied to them, they would force it through violence. From the shadows, extremist groups like the GIA, the Armed Islamic Group, emerged, declaring war against the Algerian state. Then came the bloodshed, ambushes, bombings, massacres. Civilians were caught in the crossfire. Government officials, journalists, intellectuals, no one was safe. Entire villages were wiped out in the dead of night. And the worst part? The lines between the state and the extremists became increasingly blurred. For years, a chilling question haunted Algeria. Who was really behind the massacres? Some believed the GIA was solely responsible. Others whispered of a darker truth, that elements within the government and military had infiltrated the extremist groups, using terror to justify their own brutal crackdown. There were allegations of false flag attacks, where civilians were slaughtered to make it seem like Islamist groups were the sole perpetrators. But to this day, no one knows the full truth. By the late 1990s, Algeria was bleeding. Over 200,000 lives had been lost. The people had had enough. In 1999, a new president, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, offered an olive branch, an amnesty program for fighters willing to lay down their arms. Slowly, the war faded, but the scars remained. Even today, the Black Decade remains a painful memory. The truth of what really happened, who did what, and why, remains buried under layers of secrecy and fear. Algeria fought for its independence in 1962, but in the 1990s, it fought against itself. The war ended, but its ghosts still walk among us. What really happened during the Black Decade? Was it just a war between extremists and the state, or was there something more sinister at play? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Tales Beyond Time for more stories from the past that refuse to be forgotten. Farewell.